In Lies of P, Alidoro the Hound wasn't simply a man in a mask with a knack for treasure hunting. He was actually three men: an alchemist, an imposter, and an admirer. We'll be exploring each of these personas and uncover Alidoro's true identity, uncovering some of Krat's most sinister secrets along the way. Prepare yourself for a tale of discovery, sacrifice, and redemption. But before we learn of the legendary Hound himself, it's time to give credit where it's due. Kudos to Sue for locating the Easter egg in the previous thumbnail. If you look closely, you'll see one of Esk's eyes in the bottom left-hand side of the border. If you're new to the channel, I've started playing a game with viewers where I hide an Easter egg in the thumbnail of each of my videos. The first person to state what and where it is in the comments gets a shout out in the following video. Now, back to the matter at hand. Alidoro the Hound was the greatest treasure hunter of Krat. Renowned for his exploits, many people knew him for his collection of invaluable relics, but despite his fame, he wasn't a wealthy man, at least not from a monetary perspective. Instead, he directed his efforts to acquiring knowledge. Only the truth could satisfy his hunger. The item description for the treasure hunter's mask adds further detail and reads, "A mask worn by the greatest treasure hunter in Krat." This is the mask worn by the Hound in pursuit of secrets and conspiracies. Everyone assumed that the greatest treasure hunter of Krat would be incredibly wealthy. However, there was only one true treasure that he sought to protect. But what was this treasure he valued above all else? Perhaps the question we should ask was, who? Keep this in mind for later. According to the flavor text of the treasure hunter's hunting apparel, Alidoro the Hound was the subject of everyone's admiration, so much so that some even aspired to steal his name. However, the rookie stalker Hugo admired him for an entirely different reason. During the collapse of the workshop tower, Alidoro had rescued him along with several others from certain death, losing a finger in the process. This selfless act of heroism inspired young Hugo to follow in Alidoro's footsteps, in an attempt to emulate the man who had saved his life. Before young Hugo the Explorer would don the signature mask and take on the role of his paragon, he eagerly studied Alidoro's greatest exploits in an attempt to learn from the best. As he trained in hopes of an apprenticeship with his savior, bits and pieces of information surfaced that seemed to contradict what he knew about the Hound. Word in the districts was that Alidoro was a charlatan and a thief. These accusations even came complete with a wanted poster labeling the Hound a mere fraud. Unbeknownst to the starstruck stalker in training, the original man known as Alidoro the Hound had perished and subsequently been replaced. The one who was currently posing as the famed stalker was much less honorable and much more opportunistic. Although he proudly wore the golden winged insignia on his chest, he was nothing more than a poor imitation. Prior to shedding his previous identity, the stalker that would continue in his predecessor's footsteps had the code name of Parrot, a fitting name considering his knack for mimicry. Although he made every effort to play the role accurately, his greed would be his downfall. In fact, he was once partners with the original Hound, but their differences, namely the manner in which they prioritized wealth, resulted in a scuffle that ended in Alidoro's death. The Parrot seized this opportunity, and from that point forward, he assumed the identity of the renowned stalker, thus validating the claims of impersonation on the wanted poster. Eventually he would meet Geppetto's puppet, who would offer him refuge at Hotel Krat. Despite the potential risk for revealing the hotel's location, it seemed inhumane to lead him astray. The Parrot, now known as the Hound, would certainly prove his worth, although his services didn't come cheap. Eventually, as the alchemists grew in desperation, they used their connections with the Black Rabbit Brotherhood and the man posing as Alidoro to gain access to the hotel and its inhabitants. Alidoro was given an offer he couldn't refuse, but it would likely cost the lives of many. He accepted despite the risks, and his true character and identity were revealed. After confessing about the murder of the original Alidoro the Hound and his aid in the alchemist's plan, Geppetto's puppet ended the charade once and for all. The truth, however painful, had set him free, and the rookie explorer Hugo would carry on the legend of his hero from that day forward, donning the signature Hound mask and golden winged insignia in honor of his hero. This is the story that Krat would have us believe, but any who have visited the city recently know of its tendency to omit details from the annals of history. Alidoro the Hound was no exception. The real Alidoro was no mere treasure hunter. In fact, he was an alchemist from the Far East. The item labeled Special Report Foreigner's Confession reveals the dark truth. It reads, "The alchemists paved the way for Krat's golden age, and no one denies the fact. But what if instead of gold, they were to cause an unprecedented disaster. Being a reporter, I received a surprising message from an informant who was once an alchemist himself. It's about a stranger from across the ocean, an alchemist from the Far East who was once famous in Krot. He learned of the group's secrets and quit, and he now uses a different identity out of fear for his safety. The relic of Trismegistus is not just a simple ergo mine. That place is dangerous. My source claimed that the alchemists have an ulterior motive, one not for the benefit of the city, and that they have a very risky plan involving ergo. The conspiracy theory about how hundreds of people could die sounded preposterous, but the evidence provided had a surprising amount of credibility to it. So as a reporter, I spent months with the informer and was able to see the dark side of Krot. I intended to deliver my report for the benefit of the citizens. It was Maduro, the infamous reporter, who had attempted to publish the story. However, it would never see the light of day, as publication of this text was banned on accounts of spreading false information and inciting irrational panic and public unrest. Maduro would be suspended from the Krot Times newspaper and would eventually team up with the Hound to uncover some of Krot's darkest secrets. But what had Alidoro seen that caused him to betray the alchemists and risk his life? The frayed notebook provides a hint. It reads, "It's a worn-out journal with bloodstains. Golden wings are drawn on the cover. I do not regret destroying the Saintess statue. I had to stop it from being used for humans. Of course they'll find another way, but at least those who escaped will find freedom. If I have any regrets, it's just one. God, save that child. I came from across the wide ocean." From across the wide ocean. It's clear that the author of this journal is none other than Alidoro himself. Not only does the notebook bear his insignia, but it is yet another reference to his motherland, the Far East. It seems that Alidoro had witnessed the true sinister function of the Saintess statue before it had been redesigned by Camille to react with the ergo instead of puppets. What he saw was enough to drive him to destroy the statue to prevent its use on humans and prevent the alchemists from furthering their goals of achieving immortality. With the statue destroyed and his reputation soiled, Alidoro had no choice but to change his identity to protect not only himself, but his most precious treasure, Eugenie. She was a bright engineer with an apprenticeship at the workshop who had a promising future. But nobody could have foreseen the collapse of the workshop tower. Many innocent lives were lost that day, but Alidoro the Hound saw to it that 2 souls would go on to live another day. He saved Eugenie and a young boy named Hugo. Unfortunately, Eugenie would never know the identity of her savior, not until Geppetto's puppet deciphered a hidden message written for her eyes only. Alidoro's cryptic vessel revealed everything and more. It read, "Dear beloved sister Eugenie, please forgive your brother for leaving without telling you anything. I'm being chased because I know the biggest secret of Krot. I'll probably be able to see you if the alchemists are gone from this land, but I'll have to watch you from afar until that day. I plan to protect you until at least we can live here in peace, just like how I saved you from the workshop tower. It would be wonderful if people learned the truth one day, but some truths are better left unknown." Among the alchemists, I saw all too often how cruel humans can become. After seeing all the experiments and nightmares they were responsible for, I came to believe that there is no God. Instead of revealing myself and risking your life, I'll choose to vanish forever. Still, please remember me if you ever read this letter. We came across the wide ocean. I hope there is only truth in your life, and leave your name there. I know people here call you Eugenie, as their way, but that name will protect you. Please remember your real name. Your real name is... The end of the passcode decipher is damaged, so it's unrecognizable. After many years of hoping for a sign, Eugenie's wish had finally come true. Thanks to Geppetto's puppet, she would have the answer she had been looking for all these years. Her brother, the true Alidoro the Hound, was a hero. He had uncovered the darkest secrets of Krot and worked tirelessly to reveal the truth to the masses. Sadly, the parrot would see to his untimely demise, ending his tale prematurely. With Hugo carrying on his name, perhaps his honor would be restored, shining light on the great sacrifices that were made by the alchemist from the Far East. And that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe. It lets me know you want more content just like this. Click on these videos on screen to continue your journey through Krot, and I'll be there to guide you when you arrive. Consider becoming a member for exclusive perks like emojis, members-only videos, and more. Or check out my Ko-fi or Patreon if you just want to support me in a more personal way. Until next time, it's the Inhuman One signing out. Join the Inhuman community today.